The Imperium for countless thousands of years, humanity has reached for the stars. Civilizations have risen in glory, only to fall in fire and ruin. Worlds have been conquered, lost, forgotten. Stars once bright have faded and died. And yet, through all the chaos and destruction, humanity has endured. But now, it faces its greatest challenge, a war for survival against impossible odds. The galaxy is filled with war. From every direction, monstrous enemies close in. Creatures twisted by madness, alien races hungry for conquest, and traitors seeking to destroy everything. Nowhere is safe. No one is untouched. In the 41st millennium, there is no peace. There is no progress. Only fear, war, and a fading belief in something greater. Science has become ritual. Truth is treated as religious law. Learning is feared as heresy. In this age of endless war, even hope has become dangerous. Yet, at the heart of this nightmare stands the greatest empire humanity has ever built, the Imperium of Man. It rules over 1,000,000 worlds. At its center lies Holy Terra, the birth world of mankind. And on Terra's golden throne sits the Emperor, no longer truly alive, but not fully dead. His broken body is kept alive by ancient machines, and his will still shapes the galaxy. The Imperium claims to be united under the Emperor's divine rule. Orders come from the High Lords of Terra. Armies and fleets obey the commands of the Adeptus Administratum and the Ecclesiarchy. They march in the name of faith and duty, believing they carry out the Emperor's will. But the reality is different. The Imperium is fragile. It is stretched thin. Planets vanish in storms of warp energy. Others are destroyed by alien invasions or corrupted from within. While new territories are explored and claimed, many others fall into darkness, never to return. Imagine the Imperium as countless small candles scattered in a great black void. Some shine brightly for a time, others flicker and die. Every imperial world is ruled by a local governor who has near total power as long as they pay their tithe to the Imperium. Some are cruel dictators. Others are fair rulers, but separated from their neighbors by light years and constant danger. Even the kindest leaders must often become tyrants, simply to keep their people alive. Travel and communication across the Imperium depend on the warp, a chaotic, unstable realm of energy and madness. Ships must pass through it to travel between stars. Messages are sent across it by psychic minds, but the warp is dangerous. It is home to the chaos gods, demons, and horrors beyond understanding. Every journey through it risks madness or corruption. Wherever the warp touches real space, nightmares follow. Beyond the warp, the galaxy holds more dangers. Alien empires fight for control. Xenos creatures raid, invade, and destroy with terrifying force. And still, the Imperium fights back. Not for glory, not for freedom, but just to survive. Every battle is a desperate attempt to live one more day. Life within the Imperium is hard and short. Most citizens never see the stars. They are born, live, and die in hive cities or polluted wastelands. They are taught to worship the Emperor, fear aliens, and report any sign of doubt. Few truly understand what they fight for. The truth is buried under layers of faith, fear, and propaganda. The Imperium is not a nation. It is a machine built from flesh, steel, and faith. It feeds on billions of lives and runs on the will of a god who can no longer speak. In this dark future, there is no peace. There is no mercy. There is only war. The Imperium Sanctus, when the Great Rift tore across the galaxy, everything changed. A massive storm of warp energy split the Imperium in two. Billions died in moments. Warp storms covered entire star systems. Many planets went dark, lost forever. But one half of the Imperium remained connected to Terra and the light of the Emperor. That half is called the Imperium Sanctus. Here, things still function barely. This side of the galaxy includes the Segmentum Solar, Pacificus, Tempestus, and parts of Obscurus and Ultima. At its heart is Holy Terra, where the Emperor's golden throne still shines a psychic beacon into the warp. That beacon is called the Astronomicon, and it guides Imperial ships through the madness of warp space. The Astronomicon, however, comes at a terrible cost. Every day, hundreds of psychers are sacrificed to fuel its power. Their minds burn out. Their souls are consumed. But without this sacrifice, warp travel would be nearly impossible, and the Imperium would fall apart. Even with this guiding light, the Imperium Sanctus is far from safe. Imperial Guard armies are constantly sent to new wars. Space Marines jump from one crisis to the next. The Imperial Navy fights endless battles in deep space. Sisters of Battle bring the word of the Emperor with fire and fury. The tech priests of Mars continue building weapons, ships, and machines for war, even if they no longer understand how most of them truly work. Most Imperial citizens think the Imperium is a well-run empire. It isn't. The truth is, nothing moves quickly. Messages are sent across space by psychers using the warp, but they are slow, unclear, and often don't arrive at all. Bureaucracy strangles everything. Entire worlds can scream for help for decades before anyone responds, if they respond at all. The system is cold, heartless, and vast beyond comprehension. The lives of ordinary people mean nothing. They are tools, just like bullets or tanks. Their purpose is to work, obey, and die if needed. Most people in the Imperium live their whole lives in fear and hardship. They will never see an alien. They will never meet a soldier or priest. They will never leave their planet. They suffer, starve, and break, and still they believe. Faith in the Emperor is the one thing that unites them. It's the one thing they are told to trust. It gives meaning to lives full of pain. Even when they are abandoned, even when their leaders fail, they still pray to the Emperor. And that faith is not wasted, because it holds the Imperium together. The armies may be spread thin. The leaders may be blind. The machines may be failing. But as long as people believe, the Imperium still stands. Because, sometimes, faith is stronger than truth. And in the Imperium Sanctus, belief is the only light left. The Imperium Nihilus on the far side of the Great Rift lies a dark and broken half of the galaxy. This region is called the Imperium Nihilus, the Imperium without light. It is a place where the Astronomicon no longer shines, where the Emperor's guiding light is blocked by storms of warp energy. Here, worlds are cut off, alone, and surrounded by endless threats. When the rift first opened, this part of the galaxy was thrown into chaos. Planets vanished. Cities were swallowed by the warp. Some worlds fell silent in an instant. Others were twisted beyond recognition. The skies turned red, the stars blinked out, and panic spread faster than any army. People screamed to the heavens. But no help came. This time of horror is remembered as the Noctis Eterna, the Eternal Night. It lasted for years. During this age of darkness, warp storms surged across the galaxy. Psychic shockwaves shattered minds. Demons walked freely on real worlds. Entire populations went mad. Some became monsters. Others became prey. With no communication, no reinforcements, and no direction from Terra, each world in the Imperium Nihilus was left to face destruction alone. Every planet had to make its own choices, and many of those choices were terrible. Some worlds gave everything to survive. Industrial planets sacrificed their citizens to keep factories running. Agri-worlds raised militias to fight off alien attacks with pitchforks and rifles. On others, soldiers fought off cult uprisings and brutal street wars. Hive cities became fortresses. Entire populations were armed and told to fight or die. But not all planets stayed loyal. In the darkness, chaos grows. Cults of madness and violence rose in every shadow. People who had nothing left turned to dark gods, begging for survival, power, or revenge. Demons were summoned. Warp-tainted psychers took control. The weak worshipped false prophets. The desperate made blood sacrifices to things they barely understood. Some Imperial worlds fell completely. Their people embraced the warp. Their leaders became monsters. And their names were erased from Imperial records, burned away, as if they had never existed. While humanity struggled, its enemies thrived. Orcs, Tyranids, Necrons, and more attacked like vultures. Alien fleets swept in, knowing that no help would come. Some races used strange technology to move through the stars, ignoring the warp entirely. Others used the chaos to their advantage, riding warp storms like rivers, falling upon isolated worlds with terrifying speed. Chaos warbands, heretic marines, and corrupted fleets flooded into the Nihilus. Every ruined planet became a staging ground for more attacks. The more the Imperium weakened, the stronger its enemies became. And yet, not all was lost. Some defenders refused to give in. Space Marine chapters launched crusades into the dark, fighting impossible battles. The Sisters of Battle brought fire and faith to worlds on the edge of ruin. Inquisitors and rogue traders risked their lives to reconnect broken sectors. Mechanicus explorers searched for new routes, new weapons, even new hope. On some planets, the people fought without any hope at all simply because giving up would be worse. In the Imperium Nihilus, faith changed. It became harder. Stranger, with no light from Terra, many cults formed their own beliefs. Some became twisted copies of the Imperial Creed. Others worshiped the Emperor as a destroyer god or a force of vengeance. Where once faith brought unity, now it brings confusion and fear. And yet, even in this madness, the Imperium does not fall. It fights in the dark. It bleeds in silence. But it does not stop. Because even when the light is gone, even when the warp howls and the stars go out, there are still people who raise their weapons, who whisper a prayer, and who say, "The Emperor protects, the Emperor of mankind to most of humanity." The Emperor is not just a ruler, he is a god. A divine being who watches over the Imperium from the Golden Throne on Terra. Billions pray to him every day. They beg for protection, strength, forgiveness, and victory. They believe he hears them. They believe he answers. They believe he saves. But the truth is far more tragic. 10,000 years ago, the Emperor walked among mankind. He was not a god then, but something greater than human, a being of unmatched knowledge, psychic power, and vision. He united Terra after an age of war and darkness. Then, he launched a great crusade to reunite humanity's lost colonies across the stars. To lead this crusade, the Emperor created the Primarch's 20 demigod sons, each a superhuman commander. From their genetic material, he forged the first Space Marines. Together, they conquered thousands of worlds and rebuilt the Imperium. But this golden age did not last. One of the Emperor's sons, Horus, turned against him. Horus was once the greatest of the Primarchs, his war master, but he was corrupted by the powers of chaos, and he took half of his brothers with him. The war that followed nearly destroyed everything. This was the Horus Heresy, a civil war on a galactic scale. Brother fought brother. Loyalists battled traitors across the stars. Entire planets were burned. Entire sectors lost. The Imperium was torn in half, and in the final battle, Horus faced the Emperor aboard his warship above Terra. The Emperor defeated Horus, but at a terrible price. Mortally wounded, his body broken beyond repair, the Emperor was placed on the Golden Throne, a life support system of impossible design. For 10,000 years, he has sat there, unmoving and silent. His body decays slowly. His physical form is little more than a husk, but his mind, his soul still lives, locked in eternal battle in the warp, holding back the forces of chaos. He cannot speak. He cannot move. He cannot rule. But through his will alone, the Astronomicon shines. Through his sacrifice, humanity endures. To keep him alive, thousands of Psykers are sacrificed each day. Their souls are fed to the throne to maintain its power. It is a grim, brutal process, but without it, the light of the Astronomicon would vanish, and the Imperium would collapse. No one truly understands how the Golden Throne works. The technology is ancient, far older than the current Imperium. Even the most skilled tech priests of Mars no longer know how to repair it fully. Whispers in the halls of Terra speak of systems failing, of hunger growing. Some say the Emperor's need for souls is increasing, that even this state of half-life cannot last forever. And if the Emperor dies, the Imperium may die with him. Still, the faith of the people remains unshaken. To them, the Emperor is divine. His image is everywhere on coins and murals, carved into the sides of cathedrals. His teachings, real or imagined, form the foundation of imperial law. His name is cried out in battle, in prayer, and in death. He is the symbol of everything, the center of the faith, the shield against the warp, the reason to keep fighting. And though he no longer walks among his people, his presence is everywhere, not just in shrines and statues, but in the minds of those who would give their lives for him. The Emperor gave everything to save humanity. His vision has been twisted. His empire is a shadow of what he once imagined, but still, it survives. And so long as he endures even as a whisper, a shadow, a dying fire, the Imperium will not fall. Because even in silence, even in death, the Emperor protects. Rule of the Imperium, the Emperor of mankind, no longer speaks. He no longer commands. His body sits lifeless on the golden throne, and his will is no longer given by voice or action. Because of this, the rule of the Imperium falls to others, to the most powerful rulers in human history, the High Lords of Terra. These are 12 men and women who lead the Imperium from the throne world. They hold complete authority in the Emperor's name. They create laws, direct armies, manage supplies, and guide the actions of all major imperial organizations. In theory, they act as his voice. In practice, they act with their own agendas. The High Lords are not elected by the people. They are chosen from the most powerful institutions in the Imperium, the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Astra Militarum, the Ecclesiarchy, the Administratum, and others. Some have held their positions for centuries. Some are more machine than human. Most are far removed from the reality of common life. They see the Imperium not as people, but as numbers and sectors, fleets and wars. Beneath the High Lords is the vast and bloated machinery of imperial bureaucracy, the Adeptus Terra. This includes thousands of departments, offices, and organizations, each with its own rules, hierarchy, and sacred procedures. The largest of these is the Adeptus Administratum, responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the entire Imperium. The Administratum handles tithes, population counts, planetary records, and military logistics. Its work is slow, overwhelming, and often centuries behind schedule. Clerks and scribes spend their entire lives copying reports they don't understand. Errors go unnoticed. Requests are ignored. Lives are lost, and the system keeps grinding forward. Other key branches include the Adeptus Mechanicus, in charge of machines, technology, and the secrets of science. The Ecclesiarchy, keepers of the imperial faith, spreading belief in the Emperor across the stars. The Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, vast armies made up of billions of human soldiers. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, elite post-human warriors. The Novice Noblite, the Navigator houses, whose mutated members guide ships through the warp. The Adeptus Arbites, the enforcers of imperial law. The Inquisition, secretive agents who hunt threats both within and beyond the Imperium. The Officio Assassinorum, a hidden order of imperial assassins, used only when absolutely necessary. Each of these groups has incredible power and almost no oversight. Because the galaxy is so large and disconnected, many planetary governors rule with full autonomy. These local rulers may never hear from Terra in their lifetime. They command their own armies, make their own laws, and shape their worlds in whatever way keeps the tides flowing and rebellion low. Some are just, some are brutal, some are mad. As long as they pay their due and remain outwardly loyal, the Imperium rarely interferes. But if a world shows signs of rebellion, heresy, or disobedience, punishment is swift and merciless. The Imperium cannot afford weakness. It survives through fear and example. To stray from the Emperor's path, or even to appear as if you might, is to risk destruction from orbit or extermination by fire. Even the smallest failure can lead to millions of deaths. Even the smallest delay can doom a planet. But the system continues, because it has to. There is no alternative. There is no reform. Only survival. The Imperium is not ruled by wisdom or efficiency. It is ruled by size, weight, fear, and tradition. It is a corpse dragged forward by the faith of its people and the grinding of ancient gears. And yet, despite all this, despite its cruelty, its failure, its madness, it still rules over more worlds than any empire in human history. Because in the grim darkness of the far future, a broken system that survives is better than none at all. Angels of death across the Imperium. There is no symbol more feared by its enemies or more revered by its people than the Space Marines. Also known as the Adeptus Astartes, they are the Emperor's Angels of Death, genetically modified super soldiers built for one purpose: war. Each Space Marine is a living weapon, stronger than 10 men, faster than any machine, immune to fear, trained from childhood, born again through brutal surgery, implants, and centuries of combat. They are not soldiers. They are legends. There are roughly 1,000 Space Marine chapters across the galaxy. Each chapter is a self-contained army, with its own leadership, culture, history, and heraldry. While all serve the Imperium, each follows its own traditions. Some are noble and honorable, others are savage and cold. All are deadly. Most chapters are led by a chapter master, a warrior of incredible experience and authority. These leaders have more power than many planetary governors. In some cases, even High Lords of Terra show them respect. Space Marines live in massive fortresses known as fortress monasteries. These can be located on planets, moons, or even spacefaring ships. Within these strongholds, the Marines train, pray, and prepare for endless war. Some chapters rule over entire worlds. Others wander the stars, always crusading, always fighting. To become a Space Marine is to give up everything. They abandon their names, their families, their past lives. In return, they gain centuries of life, the best weapons the Imperium can offer, and a brotherhood that never ends unless death takes them first. Each Marine carries the gene seed of one of the original Primarchs, the Emperor's 20 sons, created in the early days of the Imperium. The gene seed is what gives the Astartes their enhanced strength and abilities. It is sacred. It is guarded. It is the soul of every chapter. Space Marines fight in small numbers, but their impact is massive. They can turn the tide of entire wars. A single squad can do what an entire regiment of soldiers cannot. When Space Marines strike, they hit fast and hard. From drop pods and Thunderhawk gunships, they descend from orbit. They break enemy lines, destroy key targets, and vanish before anyone can react. Each Marine wears power armor, a walking tank of ceramite and technology. Each wields bolt guns, chainswords, plasma weapons, or relics from the dark age of technology. They are blessed by priests, repaired by tech Marines, and guided by ancient battle doctrines. And now, a new kind of Space Marine has entered the war, the Primaris. Created in secret by Archmagos Belisarius Cull, the Primaris Marines were made using improved gene seed and knowledge once thought lost. Stronger, faster, and even more resilient than their brothers, they were unleashed during the darkest hour when the Imperium was breaking apart. Some chapters welcomed them, others were suspicious, but all agreed the Imperium needed warriors, more than ever before, because across the stars, new enemies rise. Old threats return. The Great Rift has changed everything, and now the Space Marines must fight on two fronts, defending the Imperium Sanctus and reaching into the Imperium Nihilus, where hope is almost gone. They do not fight for peace. They do not fight for reward. They fight because the Emperor commands it, and because, in the darkness of the galaxy, they are the only ones strong enough to stand. They are the sword and shield of mankind. They are the last light in a universe of shadows. They are the angels of death, and they will not rest until the last enemy falls. Warriors of the faith, the Adeptus Sororitas, known to most as the Sisters of Battle, are the militant arm of the ecclesiarchy, the state religion of the Imperium. They are not just soldiers, they are holy warriors, trained for war and driven by faith. Wherever heresy rises, wherever the Imperial Creed is threatened, the Sisters bring fire, steel, and divine punishment. They do not fight for land or riches. They fight for belief. They fight for the God Emperor. The Adeptus Sororitas is made up entirely of women. Their origins trace back to a time when the ecclesiarchy was forbidden from maintaining men under arms. To obey the letter of the law, but not its spirit, the church formed a female-only military order, and so the Sisters of Battle were born. They were never meant to be powerful, but their devotion, discipline, and strength made them unstoppable. Each sister is trained from a young age in the Schola Progenium, where orphans of imperial servants and soldiers are raised under strict control. Those who show unwavering faith and physical potential are chosen to join the Order's militant. As warriors, they are fearless. They wear power armor, similar to that of the Space Marines, customized with religious symbols and sacred relics. They wield bolters, flamers, melta weapons, and blessed blades. Every bullet they fire is a prayer. Every battle is a sermon. Every victory is a miracle. The Sisters of Battle travel in massive, cathedral-like warships. Their vehicles are covered in icons, statues, stained glass, and sacred texts. Their tanks are rolling altars. Their warwalkers are shrines of fire and fury. They are divided into major convents, such as the Convent Prioress on Terra and the Convent Sanctorum on Ophelia 7. From these holy sites, they direct their war against heresy, witchcraft, and unfaithful worlds. Some orders specialize in siege warfare, others in purging alien nests. Some operate in secrecy, hunting forbidden cults across hive cities, but all share the same mission: to protect the faith and destroy its enemies. Alongside them fight priests, confessors, and missionaries. These men and women preach the imperial truth, whip crowds into religious fervor, and inspire soldiers in the heat of battle. Their presence turns war into holy crusade. Wherever the sisters go, they are followed by fire, chants, and the scent of incense. Civilians kneel as they pass. Heretics flee or burn. The faith of the sisters is total. They do not question. They do not doubt. They believe. Absolutely. And in that belief, they find power. There are no doubts in their hearts, only flame. But their enemies are many. The mutant, the heretic, and the witch all threaten the Imperium from within. To the sisters, mercy is weakness. Compromise is sin. There can be no tolerance for corruption. The Emperor's light must burn away all impurity. Some outside the ecclesiarchy see them as extremists, but none question their results. Entire worlds have been saved or cleansed by the Sisters of Battle. When imperial faith is threatened, they are the sword that strikes, the fire that purifies, the voice that shouts down doubt, and even when all hope seems lost, when demons rise and entire systems fall to darkness, the Sisters of Battle do not retreat. They do not fear. They do not fail, because their faith is their shield, and the Emperor is watching. The Inquisition, there is no organization in the Imperium more feared, more mysterious, or more powerful than the Inquisition. These agents work in the shadows. They answer only to the Emperor, and when they act, entire worlds can burn. The Inquisition exists for one reason: to protect the Imperium at any cost. Inquisitors do not follow armies, they command them. They do not obey laws, they are the law. They are judges, executioners, and investigators, all in one. Every Inquisitor carries a symbol called the Inquisitorial Rosette. This small badge gives them absolute authority. It opens every door. It overrides every command. When shown, no one dares refuse an Inquisitor's will. Not a governor, not a general, not even a Space Marine chapter master. Inquisitors operate across the entire galaxy. They work alone or in small cells. Most are never seen by the public. Many are believed to be legends or myths. Some go missing for decades, only to return when their mission is complete. The Inquisition is divided into separate groups called Ordos. Each Ordo focuses on a different threat. Ordo Hereticus hunts witches, rogue psychers, and internal corruption. Ordo Xenos deals with alien threats and technology. Ordo Malleus fights demons and the forces of chaos. Other lesser-known Ordos exist for rare or secret purposes. Inquisitors from these Ordos may work together. They may also oppose each other. The Inquisition is filled with different beliefs and methods. Some agents are strict and follow the rules. They are called Puritans. Others believe in using forbidden knowledge to fight greater evils. These are known as radicals. No matter their philosophy, all Inquisitors face the same truth. The threats to the Imperium are endless, and most people can never know they exist. That is why secrecy is essential. The Inquisition often erases entire events from public knowledge. If a planet falls to chaos, they might destroy all records and kill all witnesses. If an alien artifact is discovered, it may be sealed away or studied in silence. To do their work, Inquisitors use many tools. Some have private armies. Some command fleets. Most form small bands of trusted agents, bodyguards, psychers, assassins, scribes, and even Xenos mercenaries, if necessary. These agents, called acolytes, carry out missions under the Inquisitor's direction. They gather intel, sabotage cults, or perform strikes against key targets. If a world is beyond saving, an Inquisitor can order its complete destruction through a command called Exterminatus. With this order, orbital weapons are used to destroy all life on a planet. It is a last resort, but it is used more often than anyone would like to believe. Inquisitors do not seek praise. They are hated, feared, and distrusted, but they do not care. Their job is not to be loved. Their job is to save humanity from itself. and from horrors no one else even dares name. Inquisitors live in paranoia. They trust few, they suspect everyone, and the longer they serve, the more extreme they become. Because they've seen things. They've seen entire hives consumed by demons. They've seen governors fall to corruption. They've seen loyal soldiers beg to die after hearing a single word spoken in the wrong language. To survive as an inquisitor is to carry unbearable weight. To fail is to risk the extinction of mankind. And so, they keep moving. They keep hunting. They keep burning out the rot even if the fire consumes them too. They are shadows in the darkness, eyes that never blink, and a voice that speaks only once before the end. They are the Inquisition, and you will not see them coming. Perils unknown, the Imperium of Man is the largest empire in the galaxy, but size does not mean safety. In truth, the galaxy is filled with danger. Threats rise everywhere, often without warning. Most of them are not even fully understood. Some are ancient, some are new, some are still waiting in the dark. Every day, explorers find strange worlds and alien ruins. Every day, ships vanish into warp storms or silence. Every day, something worse is discovered. The official maps of the Imperium show solid borders. In reality, those borders mean little. Systems go dark all the time. Colonies disappear. Astropathic silence spreads like rot. Even within the core regions of the Imperium, nothing is truly secure. The further you go from Terra, the more unstable everything becomes. In the outer reaches, places like the Halo Stars, the Veiled Region, and the Western Fringe, the Imperium has little control. These areas are wild, barely mapped, and constantly at risk. Sometimes, planets are claimed by rogue traders or explorator fleets. These new colonies offer hope, but they are vulnerable. Many fall to invasion or rebellion before they are even added to official records. And waiting just beyond these fragile borders are the true enemies of mankind. The most terrifying threats are not always the most obvious. Sometimes it is not a fleet or a monster, but an idea, a thought, or a whisper from the warp. Sometimes the enemy is already inside, but from outside too. Danger is endless. The heretic Astartes, traitor space marines who once served the Emperor, now worship the Chaos Gods. They command their own warbands and fleets. Some control entire systems in the Eye of Terror. Others launch raids or massive crusades like the infamous Black Crusades of Abaddon, the Despoiler, which shattered entire sectors and helped tear open the Great Rift itself. Then there are the Xenos alien races beyond counting. Some are ancient and powerful. Others are primitive but brutal. Some are new and have never been classified. The Orcs are a constant threat. They grow stronger with every battle, swarming systems with endless green armies. The Necrons, robotic undead from a forgotten age, now awaken from long sleep. Their technology is far beyond human understanding. They treat other life as nothing. The Tyranids are an extragalactic swarm of hunger made real. They strip planets of all biomass, devour everything, and move on like a tide of death. Worlds fall silent in hours. Even the bravest defenders cannot stop the swarm forever. The Toe Empire, while smaller, is expanding aggressively. Their technology is advanced. Their culture promises the greater good, a lie that hides a machine of conquest and indoctrination. They offer peace, then demand obedience. Some humans join them, others resist and die. And beyond all that, there are still worse things. Creatures with no name, forces that defy logic, beings older than time, sleeping in black holes or beneath alien moons. Some threats don't attack with weapons they corrupt. They influence thoughts, dreams, and emotions. A single strange signal can turn a population into violent cultists. A forgotten ruin can release an ancient plague that warps flesh and mind alike. Entire planets have turned to chaos because someone opened the wrong door, or asked the wrong question. Explorers, rogue traders, and inquisitors sometimes encounter these things. Some return, most don't, and when they do, they are often not the same. The warp itself remains the greatest mystery of all. It is the source of psychic power, the sea through which all faster than light travel flows, and it is filled with nightmares. The Chaos Gods feed on human thoughts and emotions. They send demons, cults, and corruption into real space. No world is untouched by their influence for long. In the Imperium, ignorance is a defense. Most citizens are never told about the true nature of the galaxy. If they knew, they might lose their minds. It is better they believe in simple lies, that the Imperium is eternal, that the Emperor protects, that enemies are always clear and visible. But the truth is this: danger is everywhere. Every planet is one step away from rebellion, invasion, or mutation. Every sector hides something unknown. Every peaceful moment is temporary. In the end, there is no such thing as peace in the galaxy, only the illusion of control and the reality of constant war. For the Imperium, survival means being ready for anything. And even then, it may not be enough, because the universe doesn't care about humanity. The stars are full of monsters, and new horrors are always rising in the void. The enemy within in the grim darkness of the far future, humanity faces countless enemies in the void. But the greatest threat may not come from outside at all. It may come from within. The Imperium of man is vast, but it is also fragile. Its power is built on fear, control, and faith. The Emperor's will is absolute, but what happens when the people of the Imperium begin to question that will? What happens when those who serve the Emperor begin to doubt him? Heresy is not just something that happens far away, in some forgotten corner of the galaxy. It can begin in the heart of a city, in the whisper of a traitor's words, in the seeds of rebellion planted in a moment of weakness. The enemy within is not always an invader from the stars. It can be anyone: a governor, a soldier, a priest, or even a child. The Imperium has enemies in every corner of its own people. Mutants, criminals, traitors, and even well-meaning idealists threaten the Emperor's rule. In every hive city, in every factory, in every temple, there are whispers. Some whisper of revolution, some whisper of freedom, some whisper of a truth they believe no one else sees. This is the true danger, the internal rot. Rebellion begins small, a single act of defiance, a slight deviation from imperial doctrine. The imperial creed, with all its rules, rituals, and restrictions, may be the unifying force of the Imperium, but it also breeds suspicion. A single heretical thought can grow into a rebellion. A single moment of doubt can spiral into madness. Mutants, born of the corrupting forces of the warp or strange planetary conditions, are hunted down and purged. But not all mutants are easily detected. Many live in secret, hiding their true nature from the eyes of the Inquisition. Some even learn to blend into society, waiting for the right moment to strike. There are those who fall to chaos, the dark forces that whisper in the corners of the galaxy. Sometimes it's the promise of power, sometimes it's the despair of the oppressed, and sometimes it's simply madness that leads someone to worship the dark gods. They believe they are free, but in truth, they have become slaves to something worse than death. The Inquisition has its agents everywhere, watching for signs of heresy. They search for witches, psychers, and traitors in the shadows. They burn books. They erase memories. They purify the faith. But they cannot stop the spread of doubt. They cannot reach everyone. And in some places, the enemy has already grown too strong to defeat easily. The chaos cults are perhaps the greatest threat from within. They spread their influence quietly, hidden behind the guise of religious fervor or political rebellion. The worship of the chaos gods is insidious. It spreads like a disease, infecting minds and turning people against the Imperium even when they do not realize it. The Imperium's leaders know this. They know that the greatest threat to their empire is not the alien or the demon. It is the traitor within their own ranks, the loyal soldier who becomes a heretic, the noble governor who secretly rebels, the inquisitor who turns a blind eye. The enemy within is the secret traitor, the corrupted mind, the poisoned soul. The Imperium fights wars across the galaxy, but the real battle is fought in its heart, in its cities, in its families, in its minds. The greatest victories of the Imperium may not be found on distant battlefields, but in the quiet struggle against corruption and betrayal within. The Emperor's enemies are not always visible. They are often hidden, growing slowly in the cracks, waiting for their moment. There is no peace in the Imperium. There is only vigilance, and there is only war. The greatest enemy humanity faces is not in the stars. It is in the soul. The dark gods in the darkest corners of the galaxy, where the light of the Emperor does not reach, there are forces that are beyond mortal understanding. These are the Chaos Gods, ancient and powerful entities that dwell within the warp, the dark, ever-changing dimension of raw emotion and psychic power. The Chaos Gods are not like the Emperor. They are not concerned with the survival of humanity or the well-being of the galaxy. They are the embodiment of the most primal aspects of existence: destruction, change, decay, and excess. They seek only one thing to corrupt, to consume, and to destroy. The Chaos Gods are not simply beings. They are reflections of the darkest parts of the mortal soul, given form and power. They feed off the emotions of sentient beings. They thrive on fear, anger, hatred, lust, and greed. Their power grows with every war, every betrayal, and every act of evil. There are 4 Chaos Gods, each representing a different aspect of corruption and suffering. Khorne, the Blood God, the Lord of War and Rage. He is the embodiment of anger, hatred, and violence. His followers crave nothing but battle and bloodshed. To them, war is the ultimate act of devotion. Khorne despises weakness and mercy. He demands constant sacrifice and blood to fuel his ever-growing power. His followers, the World Eaters, are notorious for their savagery on the battlefield, cutting down everything in their path. Tzeentch the Changer of Ways, the architect of fate. He's the god of change, knowledge, and trickery. Tzeentch represents the ever-shifting currents of reality. His followers seek to change the world, not through brute force, but through manipulation, deception, and ambition. Tzeentch's power grows with every plot and every twisted scheme. His followers, the Thousand Sons, are masters of sorcery, and their magic bends the fabric of reality itself. Nurgle the Plague God, the Lord of Decay and Disease. Nurgle is the embodiment of suffering, rot, and entropy. He is the god of decay and death, but also of endurance and acceptance. His followers embrace disease, pestilence, and the inevitability of death. They do not fear death, they welcome it as a part of life cycle. Nurgle's power grows with every outbreak of disease and every death, and his followers, the Death Guard, spread plagues across the galaxy. Slaanesh the Dark Prince, the god of excess, pleasure, and pain. Slaanesh embodies the pursuit of indulgence, excess, and sensory pleasure. He is the god of both pleasure and pain, as they are 2 sides of the same coin. His followers seek to experience everything to push the boundaries of the human body and soul. They embrace every vice, every obsession, every addiction. Slaanesh's power is fueled by the pursuit of extreme sensation, and his followers, the Emperor's children, are infamous for their decadence and hedonism. These 4 gods are not simply enemies to the Imperium. They are the antithesis of everything the Imperium stands for. They represent destruction, chaos, decay, and the corruption of the human soul. But the gods are not alone. They have legions of followers who serve them, worship them, and fight for them. These followers are the Chaos Space Marines, traitor legions that were once the Emperor's warriors, but turned against him in the dark days of the Horus Heresy. The Chaos Space Marines are not like regular soldiers. They are warped and twisted by the power of the Chaos Gods. Their bodies are altered, their minds shattered, and their souls are forever bound to the service of the dark powers. They are the champions of chaos, and they wage war on the Imperium, hoping to destroy it from within. The power of the Chaos Gods is vast, and their influence spreads across the galaxy like a cancer. They corrupt everything they touch: entire planets, star systems, and even the minds of powerful leaders. The Chaos Gods are patient. They wait, they whisper, they manipulate. They know that time is on their side, and with every passing day, they grow stronger. But despite their power, the Chaos Gods are not all-powerful. They are bound to the warp, and they are limited by the emotions and desires of mortal beings. They cannot act directly in the material universe without the help of their followers, but that does not stop them from manipulating the hearts and minds of men. Every act of violence, every betrayal, every war fought in the name of hatred or greed feeds the Chaos Gods. Their power grows with every dark act committed, and with every soul corrupted. And as the galaxy descends further into darkness, they wait for the day when they will finally break free from the warp and bring their reign of chaos to the physical world. In the end, the Chaos Gods are not just enemies of the Imperium. They are enemies of humanity itself. They seek to bring about the destruction of all that is good, pure, and noble. And their influence is everywhere, in every dark corner, In every whispered prayer to the warp, the dark gods are always watching. The enemy within in the great expanse of the Imperium, there are countless enemies, threats that come from beyond the stars and from the darkness of the warp. But the most insidious enemy is the one that lurks within, hidden in plain sight, buried deep in the heart of the Imperium. It is easy to imagine that the greatest dangers come from alien invasions, warp storms, or heretic uprisings on distant worlds. But the truth is darker. The most dangerous enemy is the one that lives within the very walls of the Imperium, in its cities, in its ranks, and even in the hearts of its leaders. The enemy within is not always a foreign force or a demonic presence from the warp. It is the corruption that grows quietly, slowly, within the Imperium's very foundations. It is the betrayal of trust, the rise of heresy, and the darkness that can take root in any soul, no matter how loyal they may seem. The Imperium relies on loyalty, on faith in the Emperor, and on a strict adherence to its laws. But humanity is not perfect. Its leaders are not infallible. And within every system, every organization, there are weaknesses, cracks in the armor that can be exploited. The Adeptus Terra, the sprawling bureaucracy that rules the Imperium, is filled with corrupt officials and scheming bureaucrats. Some are motivated by greed, others by ambition, and some by simple laziness or incompetence. These are the hidden enemies that weaken the Imperium from within. Their decisions cause chaos, delay, and even death, but they do so in secret, without ever facing the consequences. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, are the most revered of all the Emperor's servants. But even they are not free from the threat of corruption. The traitor legions, the Chaos Space Marines, were once brothers in arms, loyal warriors who turned against the Emperor during the Horus Heresy. The seeds of betrayal were sown long before the heresy itself. The whispers of the warp had already begun to infect their minds. Even the mightiest warriors are not immune to the lure of power, pride, and chaos. The Imperial Guard, the countless billions of soldiers who make up the bulk of the Imperium's armies, are often the most exposed to corruption. They are raised in the harshest of conditions, and their loyalty is often tested. Desperation and fear can lead to treason. Sometimes a soldier may be forced into betrayal coerced by enemies, or manipulated by forces they cannot comprehend. The lines between loyalty and rebellion are often blurred. Then there is the Inquisition itself. Though it is tasked with rooting out corruption and heresy, it is not immune to it. Inquisitors, the most powerful and feared individuals in the Imperium, must maintain constant vigilance to avoid being seduced by the very forces they seek to destroy. Some Inquisitors, in their endless pursuit of the Imperium's survival, have begun to blur the lines between righteousness and tyranny. They have become the very thing they once hunted: heretics and tyrants who justify their actions in the name of the Emperor. The Chaos Gods Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh have no need to strike from afar. They know that the greatest weakness of the Imperium is not in its enemies, but in its own people. They whisper in the dark corners of the human soul, feeding on pride, fear, and ambition. The Chaos Gods are patient. They wait for the moment when the weakest soul will fall, when the seed of betrayal will take root, and when the Imperium will turn on itself. But not all corruption comes from the warp. Some of the most dangerous enemies within the Imperium are the simple, human flaws that everyone shares: pride, greed, ambition, jealousy, and fear. These emotions are the breeding ground for rebellion, for division, and for heresy. It is not always a monstrous force that brings about a planet's fall. Sometimes it is the actions of a single individual, driven by selfishness or fear. The true enemy within is the corruption of the human soul, and the longer the Imperium survives, the more the dark seed of rebellion grows. The enemy within is the betrayal that hides behind the face of loyalty. It is the whisper of doubt in the minds of the faithful. It is the subtle twist of the soul, turning it toward chaos. The Imperium cannot survive without its people, but if its people are divided, if its hearts and minds are corrupted, then the entire empire will fall. The greatest weapon the Imperium has is the faith and loyalty of its citizens. But that weapon is fragile. It can be broken, twisted, and turned against them. The enemy within is not a distant threat. It is always with us. It is the temptation of the soul, the betrayal of the mind, the corruption of the heart, and it is the greatest danger humanity faces. The dark gods beyond the veil of the stars, in the madness of the warp, exist four powerful and ancient entities, the Chaos Gods. These gods are the source of corruption, chaos, and suffering in the galaxy. They are not like the Emperor, who seeks to protect humanity. Instead, the Chaos Gods seek to tear the galaxy apart, to feed on the pain and emotions of all sentient beings, and to warp the very fabric of reality itself. These four gods are not bound by mortal concepts of good and evil. They are driven by the rawest and most primal aspects of existence. They are not concerned with order, stability, or survival. They care only for their own desires, and they will stop at nothing to fulfill them. Each of the Chaos Gods represents a different facet of destruction and corruption. They are the embodiment of the most dangerous aspects of the human soul, the things that drive people to war, greed, excess, and madness. Khorne, the Blood God. He is the god of war, anger, and violence. Khorne is driven by a need for endless conflict and bloodshed. His followers live for battle, seeking to spill blood in his name. He despises weakness and mercy, and his power grows with every act of violence, every war fought, and every death in battle. The legions of Khorne, known as the World Eaters, are infamous for their savagery and their thirst for blood. Tzeentch the Changer of Ways. He is the god of change, ambition, and knowledge. Tzeentch represents the constant flow of the universe, the twisting of fate, and the manipulation of reality. His followers are driven by ambition, constantly seeking power and control. They believe that by manipulating the world around them, they can achieve greatness. Tzeentch's power grows with every lie, every scheme, and every plan of betrayal. His followers, the Thousand Sons, are masters of sorcery and manipulation. Nurgle, the Plague God. He is the god of decay, disease, and suffering. Nurgle's power comes from the acceptance of suffering and the inevitability of death. His followers embrace disease and decay, believing that they are part of the cycle of life and death. They accept their suffering, as it is a part of Nurgle's eternal plan. His power grows with every plague, every sickness, and every death. The Death Guard, Nurgle's loyal followers, spread disease across the galaxy in his name. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince. He is the god of excess, pleasure, and indulgence. Slaanesh represents the pursuit of ultimate sensation, the belief that the greatest joy is found in indulgence, whether it is in pleasure or pain. His followers seek to experience every excess and every vice, pushing themselves to the limits of their bodies and minds. Slaanesh's power grows with every act of indulgence, every pursuit of excess, and every moment of lust, greed, or pride. The Emperor's children, Slaanesh's devotees, are known for their obsession with perfection and their constant pursuit of pleasure. The Chaos Gods are not just gods. They are the ultimate enemies of humanity. They corrupt minds, destroy lives, and warp reality itself. Their influence is felt everywhere. They are the reason for the horrors of the galaxy, the wars, the suffering, the chaos, and the decay. Their power is greatest when they manipulate the emotions of mortals. The Chaos Gods do not rule with armies or weapons alone. They manipulate the hearts and minds of men. They whisper in the ears of the weak, the angry, the fearful, and the ambitious. They feed off the emotions that drive humanity to madness. They are patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. But the Chaos Gods are not invincible. They are bound to the warp, and they cannot directly enter the material universe without the help of their followers. This is where the Chaos Space Marines come in, once loyal servants of the Emperor, now turned traitor and devoted to the Chaos Gods. These corrupted warriors fight for the Chaos Gods, spreading destruction and chaos across the galaxy. The Imperium stands as the last bastion against the forces of chaos. Every day, the soldiers, the priests, the Inquisitors, and the Space Marines of the Imperium fight against the corruption of the warp. They defend humanity from the dark forces that seek to consume it. But as the warp continues to warp reality, and as the Chaos Gods grow stronger, the future of the Imperium grows darker. The forces of chaos are patient. They know that every day, more and more souls are lost to their influence. Every war, every death, every betrayal feeds their power. The Imperium fights on, but the darkness is never far behind. The Dark Gods are always watching, always waiting, and in the end, their victory may be inevitable. Perils unknown, the galaxy is a vast, unforgiving place. No matter where you go, There are dangers waiting. While the Imperium fights against the forces of chaos, alien invaders, and internal corruption, there are still greater and more mysterious threats hiding in the darkness. These are the perils unknown. These are the threats no one fully understands, the dangers that lurk beyond the edges of the Imperium, waiting for the moment when they will strike. Some of these threats are ancient, older than humanity itself. They are the remnants of civilizations long forgotten, their power and knowledge far beyond what the Imperium could ever hope to understand. These forgotten races, once masters of the galaxy, left behind ruins that hold dangerous secrets, and sometimes these secrets come alive. The Necrons are one such ancient threat. They were once a powerful race, ruling over the stars, but they were cursed by their own ambition. Now, they are nothing but soulless machines, driven by an unending desire to reclaim their lost empire. They wake from their long slumber in their tomb worlds, bringing death with them. Their technology is more advanced than anything the Imperium has ever known. They are relentless, cold, and unstoppable. The Tyranids are another terrifying force, a galaxy-wide swarm that devours all life in its path. They are not a race of beings, but a vast, consuming hive mind. The Tyranids came from beyond the galaxy, drawn by the raw biomass that fuels their hunger. They leave nothing behind but lifeless husks. No one knows where they came from or how to stop them. Every world they consume becomes part of their ever-growing swarm. But not all the perils unknown come from ancient threats or alien invaders. Some come from the very fabric of reality itself. The warp is a realm of raw psychic energy that exists alongside the material universe. It is the source of all psychic power, but it is also the source of countless horrors. The warp is a chaotic and ever-changing dimension, filled with strange, unpredictable forces. Some say it is a reflection of the collective emotions of sentient beings. Others believe it is a living entity in itself, a dark and hungry force that seeks to devour the material world. The dangers of the warp are not just the demons and chaos gods that dwell within. The very nature of the warp makes it dangerous. Navigating through it is a perilous task, one that requires skill, courage, and a deep understanding of its twisting paths. Many ships have been lost to the warp, disappearing into the void without a trace. Many psychers have been consumed by its madness, their minds shattered by the infinite horrors within. Even now, the Imperium faces a new, growing threat, the Great Rift. This massive tear in the fabric of reality has split the galaxy in half, creating a vast, uncontrollable zone of warp storms and chaos. It has thrown the Imperium into disarray, severing entire star systems from the heart of the Imperium. No one knows what lies within the rift, but every day it spreads further, devouring everything in its path. The Xenos races, those alien species that threaten the Imperium, are not the only enemies to worry about. There are other unknown strange phenomena that appear without warning and disrupt the natural order of the universe. Some say that ancient weapons are hidden in the far reaches of the galaxy, weapons that could wipe out entire civilizations with a single blow. Others believe that there are rifts in reality itself, places where the laws of physics do not apply, and where time and space bend in ways that no human mind can comprehend. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, there are whispers of beings that defy understanding. These are not gods, demons, or aliens, they are something worse. Creatures that exist beyond the fabric of reality. Creatures that cannot be described by mortal minds. They exist in the space between worlds, waiting for the moment when they can break through and unleash their unimaginable power upon the galaxy. The perils unknown are not just external threats. They are the unknown forces that challenge the very foundations of the Imperium's existence. They are the dangers that lie beyond the horizon, waiting to emerge when least expected. The Imperium cannot predict these dangers. It cannot prepare for them. It can only fight and hope to survive. And in the end, it may be the things that no one sees coming that bring about its fall. The galaxy is vast, and the perils unknown are everywhere. They are a constant, lurking just out of sight, waiting for the Imperium to let its guard down. It is a dangerous place, and survival is never guaranteed. The enemy within even in the greatest of empires, there are cracks. The Imperium, vast and ancient, is no exception. While the galaxy is filled with threats from without alien invaders, the forces of chaos, and the horrors of the warp, the most insidious and dangerous threats are often those that lie within. The greatest danger to humanity does not always come from the stars. Sometimes it is the betrayal of those closest to you. It is the heretic who serves in silence, the traitor who hides behind a mask of loyalty, and the corruption that festers in the very heart of the Imperium. The enemy within is not a distant force, it is the darkness inside every soul, the seed of rebellion that grows quietly beneath the surface. The Imperium is built on faith, but faith is a fragile thing. The Emperor may rule the galaxy, but not everyone is faithful to him. In every city, in every planet, there are whispers of rebellion, of doubt, of heresy. The people of the Imperium are not perfect. They are human. And like all humans, they are susceptible to the same flaws: pride, greed, jealousy, and fear. Heretics are born from doubt. It starts with a single thought, a single question. What if the Emperor is not truly divine? What if we have been lied to all this time? These thoughts are dangerous. They spread like a disease. Once planted in the mind, they grow and spread, infecting the soul and leading it down a path of damnation. It is not only the common people who are vulnerable. Even the highest-ranking officials in the Imperium can fall to the lure of heresy. Governors, generals, and even space marines all are susceptible to corruption. The temptation to break from the Emperor's rule, to follow a new path, or seek power from dark forces, can be overwhelming. The power of the warp, the promises of the Chaos Gods, the whispers of rebellious ideals, all of these can pull a person away from their sacred duty. The enemy within is not always easy to spot. A heretic is not always someone who wears the marks of corruption on their body. Sometimes the most loyal servants are the ones who harbor the darkest secrets. A governor who secretly aids the forces of chaos. A general who sacrifices soldiers for personal gain. A priest who leads the faithful, but only for power, wealth, or fame. The most dangerous of these enemies are not those who openly betray the Emperor. They are the ones who hide in the shadows, working in secret, waiting for the right moment to strike. They are the spies, the infiltrators, and the saboteurs who slowly corrupt the foundations of the Imperium. They twist minds, destroy trust, and sow division. The Inquisition is the Imperium's shield against such corruption. Its agents, the Inquisitors, are tasked with seeking out the enemies of the Emperor and rooting out heresy wherever it may be found. But even the Inquisition is not immune to the dangers of the enemy within. There are those within the Inquisition itself who have turned their back on the Emperor, using their power to pursue their own agendas. And when the Inquisition fails, the consequences are catastrophic. The Chaos Gods know the power of corruption. They do not need to invade with armies. They do not need to strike from the shadows. All they need is for a single soul to fall. Once that happens, the infection spreads. A single corrupted individual can bring down entire systems, create rebellions, and turn entire fleets against each other. Chaos feeds on the weakness of the human soul. Even in the darkest times, when the galaxy is at war, the enemy within can be the most dangerous force to face. The rebellion of a single planet can spread across the Imperium. A corrupted leader can destroy armies and entire worlds. And when the heart of the Imperium is corrupted, even the Emperor's divine will may not be enough to save it. The enemy within is a slow poison. It spreads quietly, unnoticed, until it is too late. And once it has taken hold, it is nearly impossible to remove. The Imperium's greatest strength is its unity, but the enemy within seeks to tear that unity apart, to divide and conquer from within. In the end, the greatest victory for the enemies of the Imperium may not be a great battle or a devastating invasion. It may be the collapse of the Imperium from within the slow decay of loyalty, faith, and trust. And once that decay takes hold, there may be no turning back. The dark gods in the deepest reaches of the galaxy, beyond the material universe, there exists a realm of unimaginable horror, the warp. It is a dimension of pure psychic energy, constantly in flux, where reality itself bends and breaks. It is a place of darkness, where the laws of time and space do not apply, and where the most monstrous and terrifying entities of the galaxy reside. These entities are the Chaos Gods Ancient, malevolent beings who exist to spread destruction and corruption throughout the universe. They are the embodiment of the most primal aspects of life, the things that drive sentient beings to madness, to chaos, and to their own doom. They are not concerned with the survival of humanity. They seek only to corrupt, to destroy, and to feed off the emotions and suffering of all living things. The Chaos Gods are not like the Emperor. They do not rule with logic or order. They are driven by their own desires, their own passions. They are the gods of war, decay, change, and excess. They each embody a different aspect of destruction, but all are united in their goal to bring the galaxy to ruin. Khorne, the Blood God. He is the god of war, anger, and violence. Khorne feeds on the bloodshed of battle, the rage of warriors, and the hatred that drives men to fight. His followers believe that the only way to achieve glory and honor is through constant war. Khorne despises weakness and mercy. To him, there is only one truth. War is the ultimate expression of life, and only those who shed blood in his name are worthy. Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways. He is the god of change, manipulation, and ambition. Tzeentch represents the ever-shifting tides of fate, the constant flux of reality, and the manipulation of power. He is the god of sorcery, of plots, and of schemes. His followers believe that through knowledge, change, and manipulation, they can control their own destinies. Tzeentch's power grows with every act of deception, every lie, and every twist in the web of fate. Nurgle, the Plague God. He is the god of decay, disease, and death. Nurgle represents the inevitable cycle of life and death, the suffering and decay that all living things must endure. His followers embrace disease and decay, seeing them as part of the natural order. They do not fear death, for to them, death is merely a step in the eternal cycle of life. Nurgle's power grows with every plague, every disease, and every death. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince. He is the god of excess, pleasure, and indulgence. Slaanesh embodies the pursuit of the ultimate experience, the desire for pleasure, perfection, and excess. He is the god of lust, greed, and hedonism. His followers seek to experience every excess of the senses, to push themselves to the limits of pleasure and indulgence. Slaanesh's power grows with every act of indulgence, every moment of excess, and every obsession. The Chaos Gods are not just enemies of the Imperium. They are enemies of all life. They seek to bring the galaxy into eternal darkness, to twist the minds and souls of all sentient beings, and to turn everything that is good and pure into something monstrous and corrupted. Their influence is felt everywhere. In the warp, where they reside, they are at their most powerful. In the material universe, they can only act through their followers, their cultists, their demons, and their Chaos Space Marines. But their influence spreads like a cancer. Every act of violence, every war, every act of betrayal feeds their power. The more suffering there is in the galaxy, the stronger the Chaos Gods become. Every world that falls to the forces of chaos, every soul that is corrupted, is another step toward their ultimate goal, the destruction of all that is good, pure, and true. The Chaos Space Marines, once the Emperor's own warriors, are the most visible manifestation of the Chaos God's power. These traitor legions, broken and twisted by the forces of chaos, wage war against the Imperium with a single goal: to bring about the fall of the Emperor and the reign of the Dark Gods. They are relentless, brutal, and filled with hatred for all things Imperial. But the Chaos Gods are not limited to the forces of the Imperium. They also have their sights set on the other races of the galaxy. The Toad, the Orcs, and even the Necrons are not immune to their influence. Wherever there is war, wherever there is suffering, there is the potential for the Chaos Gods to reach out and claim new followers. The Imperium stands as the last bastion against the forces of chaos, but it is a fragile defense. The Chaos Gods are patient. They wait for the perfect moment to strike. Every day, their influence grows. Every act of rebellion, every war, every death feeds their power. And one day, the forces of chaos may break through. One day, they may tear apart the fabric of reality itself and bring the galaxy into eternal darkness. Until that day comes, the Imperium must stand not just to defend the Emperor, but to fight against the very forces of destruction that would see all of humanity destroyed. The Dark Gods are patient, but they're not eternal. They will wait, and they will strike. Rule of the Imperium of man, is vast, filled with billions of worlds, each ruled by its own governor, its own military leaders, and its own traditions. But despite this vastness, the true power of the Imperium lies not in the hands of any single leader, but in a network of systems and structures that span the galaxy, all centered around Terra, the heart of the Imperium and the seat of the Emperor's eternal rule. At the top of this system are the High Lords of Terra, the supreme rulers of the Imperium. There are 12 of them, and they are drawn from the most powerful organizations of the Imperium, including the Ecclesiarchy, the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Astra Militarum, and others. The High Lords are responsible for issuing decrees, managing resources, and directing the vast military and administrative systems of the Imperium. They govern the Imperium in the name of the Emperor. Though they do not speak for him, he is silent, his body entombed upon the Golden Throne, and his will is enforced by those who serve in his name. The High Lords of Terra are not elected. They are appointed by their respective organizations, each holding immense power and influence. They are, in a sense, the caretakers of the Emperor's domain, but their rule is far from perfect. As powerful as they are, the High Lords are often embroiled in political intrigue, corruption, and factionalism. They are constantly vying for power, and the survival of the Imperium is as much about maintaining the balance of power between these factions as it is about protecting humanity from its enemies. Beneath the High Lords lies the Adeptus Terra, the vast bureaucracy that administers the Imperium. The Adeptus Terra is divided into countless departments, each with its own role in managing the Imperium's affairs. There are organizations responsible for the recruitment and training of soldiers, the administration of the economy, the supply of materials to the front lines, the enforcement of laws, and the oversight of planets and systems. Among the largest and most important of these bodies is the Adeptus Administratum, the massive organization that manages the Imperium's bureaucracy. Its task is to ensure that resources are distributed, worlds are cataloged, and taxes are collected. But this is no easy task, and the Administratum is known for its inefficiency and slow response times. While the Adeptus Administratum manages the day-to-day operations of the Imperium, there are other organizations that ensure the security of the Emperor's rule. The Astra Militarum, or Imperial Guard, is the most important military force of the Imperium, made up of billions of soldiers who fight in the name of the Emperor. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, are the elite warriors of the Imperium, called upon when the galaxy's most deadly threats emerge. The Adeptus Mechanicus oversees the technology and weaponry that power the Imperium's armies, and the Ecclesiarchy ensures the spiritual well-being of humanity, spreading the Emperor's creed across the stars. But for all its power, the rule of the Imperium is not without its flaws. The vastness of the galaxy, the number of worlds and systems under its dominion, and the constant threat of war, corruption, and rebellion make it nearly impossible for the Imperium to function smoothly. Communication between distant sectors can take years. Decisions made on Terra often take months to reach the farthest corners of the Imperium, and by the time a decision is made, the situation may have changed. The Imperial Creed, the religion that unites the people of the Imperium, is also a source of strength and weakness. While the faith in the Emperor unites humanity, it also creates divisions. The Ecclesiarchy holds tremendous power, and its religious dogma can sometimes be oppressive. The Inquisition, tasked with rooting out heresy and rebellion, sometimes goes too far in its zeal to protect the Emperor's will. It is a harsh, unforgiving system, one in which those who step out of line are punished without mercy. The Imperium also suffers from its own bureaucracy. Thousands of officials, bureaucrats, and administrators move mountains of paper and data, often without ever understanding the larger picture. It is a system that operates on fear, tradition, and sheer inertia, and it works only because humanity has been trained to accept it. The weight of the Imperium's rule is felt by billions of citizens who will never know the full extent of the decisions made on their behalf. They live and die within a system that values order and control above all else. The rule of the Imperium is a delicate balance. It is a system built on faith, fear, and tradition. It survives because humanity has been taught to endure. It thrives because the Adeptus Terra, though flawed, manages to keep the wheels of the machine turning. But even now, as the galaxy stands on the brink of destruction, the Imperium must ask itself, how much longer can it endure? The enemy within waits for the right moment to strike, and with every passing day, the cracks in the Imperium's foundation grow wider. The Imperium can only stand so long as it remains united in faith and purpose. Without that unity, the very fabric of the Empire will begin to tear. The rule of the Imperium is a fragile thing. It is a thing of power, of tradition, and of belief, but it is always at risk. It is always threatened by the same forces that seek to destroy it. And yet, it persists. For as long as there is a human soul that believes in the Emperor's will, the Imperium will endure. Angels of Death, there is no force more feared in the Imperium than the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines. They are the Emperor's most elite warriors, genetically enhanced super soldiers, bred for one purpose: war. They are not just men. They are legends, warriors forged in the crucible of battle, who strike fear into the hearts of enemies and inspire unwavering loyalty in the hearts of humanity. The Space Marines are not like the Imperial Guard, whose armies are made of billions of regular men and women. Space Marines are post-human. They are stronger, faster, and more durable than any regular human, and they are trained to fight and survive in the harshest of conditions. They are the Emperor's chosen, warriors who fight in his name and for his glory. They do not fear death, for they are warriors of the Emperor, and their purpose is to fight until the very end. The Space Marines are divided into chapters, each a self-contained army of warriors. There are 1,000 chapters, each with its own traditions, rules, and customs. Some chapters are known for their honor, their strict discipline, and their unyielding loyalty to the Emperor. Others are known for their savage ferocity, tearing through their enemies like a storm of destruction. But despite their differences, all Space Marines are united in their purpose: to protect humanity from the horrors of the galaxy, and to bring war to those who threaten the Emperor's rule. Each chapter is led by a chapter master, a warrior of great skill and wisdom. The chapter master is both a military leader and a spiritual guide, for the Space Marines are not just warriors, they are also the defenders of the Emperor's faith. Their loyalty to the Emperor is absolute, and they fight not for honor or glory, but for the survival of mankind. The Space Marines are genetically modified from the genes of the Primarchs, the 20 godlike sons of the Emperor, each of whom was a perfect warrior in his own right. Through the use of gene seed, the Emperor created the Space Marines, and each chapter is descended from one of the original Primarchs. These Primarchs, though scattered and lost in the galaxy, are still remembered and revered by their descendants. Each chapter has its own unique culture and traditions, shaped by the Primarch who led them. The Space Marines were power armor, a suit of ceramite and advanced technology that enhances their already formidable strength and endurance. The armor is not just protection, it is a symbol of their bond with the Emperor. Each suit is personalized to the wearer, with intricate designs and markings that reflect their chapter's history and purpose. The armor is equipped with advanced weaponry, including the iconic bolter, a weapon that fires explosive rounds capable of piercing even the toughest armor. But it is not just their armor or their weapons that make the Space Marines so deadly. It is their training. They are warriors from birth, trained to fight from the moment they are chosen as candidates. The training is brutal, designed to push them to their limits and beyond. It is a process of transformation, turning them from mere boys into warriors who can endure any hardship, face any challenge, and defeat any enemy. The Space Marines are not alone in their battles. They are often accompanied by servitors, robotic beings created by the Adeptus Mechanicus and Scout Marines, who are tasked with reconnaissance and sabotage missions. But the true strength of the Space Marines lies in their brothers in arms. Every Space Marine is a part of a brotherhood, a tightly knit unit that fights together and dies together. They fight not just for the Emperor, but for each other. In battle, the Space Marines are unstoppable. They strike with precision, speed, and overwhelming force. They are often deployed from drop pods, which allow them to land directly in the heart of the enemy's forces. From there, they move swiftly and decisively, crushing their enemies with the might of the Emperor's will. Whether they are fighting in the heart of a ruined city, on the surface of a distant moon, or on a distant battlefield against the forces of chaos, the Space Marines are always ready to bring the Emperor's wrath to his enemies. But despite their power, the Space Marines are not invincible. They can be killed, and they can fall. Every battle is a risk. They are constantly fighting against the odds, battling not just enemies, but the very forces of corruption that threaten to consume the galaxy. Even the mightiest Space Marine can fall prey to the temptations of the warp, and the corruption of chaos is a constant threat. Still, the Space Marines stand strong. They are the Emperor's angels of death. They are the defenders of mankind. And when the galaxy is on the brink of destruction, when the Imperium faces its darkest hour, it is the Space Marines who will stand in the Emperor's name and fight until the very end. They are the last hope of humanity. They are the Emperor's fury made flesh. They are the angels of death, warriors of the faith in the vast and ever-growing darkness of the galaxy, where hope often feels like a fleeting dream. The Imperium's last bastion of light is its faith. The belief in the Emperor is the very foundation of human existence, and it is this faith that sustains the people of the Imperium through the harshest of trials. But faith is not just a belief, it is a weapon. And those who wield it are the Adepta Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle. The Sisters of Battle are the militant arm of the Ecclesiarchy, the religious body that governs the spiritual life of the Imperium. They are the warriors of the imperial cult, defenders of the Emperor's divinity, and enforcers of his will. Their faith is absolute, their loyalty unwavering, and their commitment to the Emperor unshakable. Their primary purpose is to fight for the Emperor's glory, to purge heresy, and to spread the Emperor's light across the galaxy. The Sisters believe that war is not just a physical battle, but a spiritual one. Each swing of their chainswords and each shot from their bolt pistols is a prayer, a sacrament of faith. Every battle is a form of worship, and every victory is an offering to the Emperor. The Adepta Sororitas are an order composed entirely of women, chosen for their purity of heart, strength of spirit, and willingness to dedicate their lives to the Emperor's service. Their path begins in the Schola Progenium, an institution that trains orphan children of imperial servants. Those chosen to join the Sisters of Battle are subjected to a grueling process of physical and spiritual training. They are tested to their limits, pushed beyond what any ordinary human could endure, until they are forged into the perfect servants of the Emperor. The Sisters of Battle are divided into various orders, each with its own specialty and method of serving the Emperor. Some are known for their prowess in battle, while others are revered for their role as spiritual leaders and advisors. Regardless of their focus, they all share a deep and unwavering belief in the Emperor's divinity and the importance of his eternal reign. The Order's militant are the warrior branches of the Adepta Sororitas, and it is these sisters who take to the battlefield when heresy, Xenos, or chaos threatens the Imperium. Their armor is adorned with the symbols of their faith: Aquilas, eagles, and other sacred emblems. Their weapons are blessed, and their battle cries echo with the righteous fury of the Emperor's will. The Sisters' primary weapon is their bolter, a powerful firearm that launches explosive rounds capable of tearing through armored targets. They also wield flamers and melta-guns, weapons designed to purge heretics and alien invaders alike with fire and heat. The power armor they wear is as much a symbol of their devotion as it is a shield against the enemies of humanity. Clad in their shining armor, they charge into battle without fear, knowing that they are not alone. The Emperor himself watches over them. Despite their religious devotion, the Sisters are not above using brute force when necessary. When a planet falls to heresy or an entire system succumbs to chaos, the Sisters of Battle are dispatched to cleanse it with fire. They perform their purges with a zeal unmatched by any other force in the Imperium. The faithful are saved, but the heretics are not given mercy. In their eyes, mercy is a weakness, and weakness is heresy. In addition to their military prowess, the Adepta Sororitas also play an important role in maintaining the moral and spiritual health of the Imperium. They serve as preachers, missionaries, and confessors, spreading the word of the Emperor across the stars. They inspire the people, giving them hope and purpose in the face of a galaxy filled with war and suffering. The Sisters are both warriors and holy figures, respected by the common folk and feared by the enemies of the Emperor. They march with battle hymns on their lips and the Emperor's light in their hearts. Their faith is their shield and their devotion is their sword. When they enter a battlefield, it is as though the Emperor himself walks among them. They bring with them the weight of the Imperial Creed, the righteousness of the Emperor's judgment, and the power of a galaxy-spanning empire. But despite their devotion, the Sisters are not immune to the challenges of war. They, too, must face the horrors of chaos, the terror of the warp, and the constant threat of destruction that looms over the Imperium. Yet, they persist, driven by an unyielding belief that the Emperor's light will shine through even the darkest of times. The Adeptus Sororitas are the warriors of the Emperor's faith, and they are more than just soldiers. They are the Emperor's fury, the embodiment of his righteous wrath, and the protectors of humanity's soul. They fight not just for survival, but for the purity of the Imperium and the preservation of the Emperor's will. In the grim darkness of the future, where there is only war, the Sisters of Battle are the shining example of unwavering faith. They are the warriors who will never falter, who will never surrender. They are the warriors of the faith, and they will fight for the Emperor until the very end. The Inquisition in the Imperium of Man, where the forces of chaos, heresy, and Xenos threaten at every turn, there exists an organization both feared and revered, a force of untold power that operates in the shadows. This organization is the Inquisition, the Emperor's secret arm, tasked with safeguarding the Imperium from within and without. The Inquisition is not a single organization, but a vast network of operatives and agents, each with their own agendas and methods. Their sole mission, however, remains the same: the survival of humanity and the preservation of the Emperor's will. And in that pursuit, they are willing to do anything, even if it means committing unspeakable acts in the name of the greater good. Inquisitors are the ultimate agents of the Emperor's wrath. They are granted the power to act without restraint, to take any action they deem necessary in the Emperor's name. No one is beyond their reach, not even the highest authorities in the Imperium. They operate above the law, answerable only to the Emperor himself. Their power is absolute, their authority unquestioned. A simple inquisitorial reset is enough to give them the right to execute anyone, seize anything, and do whatever it takes to protect the Imperium. The Inquisition is divided into ordos, each focusing on a different type of threat. The most well-known are Ordo Hereticus, the branch responsible for rooting out heresy and treason. They are the most feared of all, tasked with investigating suspected traitors and purging the Imperium of disloyalty. They often operate with brutal efficiency, and their work often brings them into direct conflict with those who would corrupt the Imperium from within. Ordo Xenos. These Inquisitors focus on alien threats, protecting humanity from Xenos races and their insidious influence. Their work includes the study, containment, and, when necessary, destruction of alien species. They believe the Imperium must remain pure and free from the influence of non-human entities. Ordo Malleus. The Ordo Malleus is the secret arm of the Inquisition that fights the most dangerous and terrifying enemies of humanity, the forces of chaos. They are the hunters of the demons and the Chaos Space Marines. The Ordo Malleus agents often wield powerful weapons and artifacts, even using psychic powers to combat the horrors of the war. The Inquisition's power is absolute, but it is not without its challenges. While the Inquisitors themselves are trained in the arts of war, espionage, and investigation, they are also plagued by their own internal conflicts. The Ordos are not united, each has its own methods, its own doctrines, and its own ways of achieving its goals. The Inquisitors themselves are not above suspicion, and many struggle with their own moral dilemmas as they carry out their duties. Puritans are the traditionalists of the Inquisition. They adhere strictly to the rules of the Imperium, valuing obedience, loyalty, and unwavering faith in the Emperor. For them, any sign of corruption must be eradicated swiftly, and their actions are guided by a deep sense of duty to the Emperor's divine will. Radicals, on the other hand, believe that the Imperium must adapt and evolve in order to survive. They are willing to use more unorthodox methods, including the use of dangerous technologies, forbidden knowledge, and even the powers of chaos itself, if it means achieving the greater good. These Inquisitors are often seen as dangerous, unpredictable, and willing to cross the line to ensure the Imperium's survival. But despite these differences, every Inquisitor shares the same core belief: the Emperor's will is paramount, and no price is too high to ensure the Imperium's survival. Whether through covert operations, brutal purges, or secret alliances with Xenos races, the Inquisition will stop at nothing to protect humanity, even if it means committing atrocities. The Inquisition is not without its enemies. There are those who see it as a necessary evil, but many view it as a corrupt and oppressive force. Some rebels and heretics resist the Inquisition's intrusion into their lives, while some loyalists within the Imperium question the Inquisition's methods. There are even whispers of rogue inquisitors who have strayed too far from their mission, becoming the very thing they once sought to destroy, a terrifying thought in a galaxy already filled with enemies. Nevertheless, the Inquisition persists. It remains the Imperium's sword and shield, wielding its power in the name of the Emperor and acting with ruthless efficiency. From the highest ranks of the Imperial Guard to the most isolated and forgotten hive cities, the Inquisition's agents are always watching, ever vigilant against the enemies within and beyond the Imperium's borders. Their presence is often felt but rarely seen. They move in the shadows. They strike without warning, and their judgment is swift and final. The Inquisition is the Imperium's greatest protector, and its most terrifying force. Perils unknown, the galaxy is vast, and humanity's reach within it is barely a flicker in the dark. For every world controlled, there are countless others untouched, unknown, or lost to time. While the Imperium fights battles against known enemies, aliens, heretics, and the forces of chaos, it is the perils unknown that truly test the limits of humanity's survival. The Imperium is constantly expanding, its borders stretching across the stars. But within this sprawling empire lies an unknown wilderness, vast regions of space where the Imperium's presence is weak or non-existent. These are the uncharted territories, the regions beyond the farthest reaches of Imperial control, where the rules of reality and the boundaries of existence are fluid and unreliable. In the farthest corners of the galaxy, humanity's knowledge ends and the unknown begins. These territories are often filled with strange phenomena, rifts in space-time, dimensional anomalies, and unknown cosmic forces that threaten to tear reality itself asunder. What lies beyond the borders of the Imperium is not just a blank expanse, but a place where the very fabric of the universe can warp and bend, where stars can disappear, and where entire fleets vanish without a trace. One of the greatest dangers to the Imperium is the warp itself, a dimension of psychic energy, chaos, and madness. While the warp is used for faster-than-light travel and communication, it is a dangerous place filled with unimaginable horrors. The Great Rift, a massive tear in the fabric of reality, has made the warp even more unstable, pushing the Imperium further to the brink of collapse. Ships that enter the warp are at the mercy of its shifting tides. Some return safely, but many are lost forever, swallowed by the void. The Tyranids represent one of the most terrifying unknowns. These ravenous creatures are not from the galaxy, but from beyond it. The Tyranids come in massive swarms, consuming entire worlds, stripping them of all life. They are not a race with civilization or culture, but a hunger, a single-minded drive to devour everything in their path. The Imperium has never encountered anything like them. Their biology is a mystery, their motivations unclear, and their presence in the galaxy has brought fear to all corners of Imperial space. Then there are the Necrons, an ancient race that predates humanity and even the Imperium itself. They are not truly alive, but are instead soulless machines, once living beings who sought immortality but found only cursed existence. The Necrons slumber in their tomb worlds, waiting for the moment when they will rise again to reclaim the galaxy. Their technology is ancient and far beyond what the Imperium can comprehend. The threat they pose is not just military, it is existential. They are a race determined to wipe out all life, their motives shrouded in mystery. Beyond these known threats lies something far worse, the unknown entities and forces that have no clear form, no clear reason for existing, and yet they are there. They are ancient beings of unimaginable power that exist in the very fabric of space and time. Their motives are incomprehensible, their actions unpredictable, and their very presence a challenge to the natural laws of the universe. These perils unknown are not just alien invaders or monsters. They are threats that challenge the very understanding of reality. They exist in the dark spaces between the stars, in the folds of the warp, and in the forgotten reaches of the galaxy. Their appearance is not always predictable, and they often strike without warning. Some have the power to alter the flow of time itself, while others warp reality, turning entire planets into unrecognizable hellscapes. Humanity's survival depends not just on defeating known enemies, but on the ability to face the unknown. The Imperium has built a mighty war machine, but it is not invulnerable. It is in the realms of the unknown that the greatest dangers lie. For every victory won, there is always the possibility that the next battle will be one that cannot be won. The forces of the Chaos Gods, the ancient Necrons, the ravenous Tyranids, and the Warp itself are all greater than any single army or weapon. And these are just the known threats. The perils unknown are the true nightmare of the Imperium. They are the force that cannot be seen, the enemy that cannot be fought, the danger that lies in the silence between the stars, the enemy within in the grim darkness of the far future, where the galaxy is torn apart by endless war and the forces of corruption. There is one enemy that is often the most dangerous, the enemy within. This threat is not external, it is internal, lurking within the heart of the Imperium itself. It is the treachery and corruption that festers in the souls of humanity's own servants. The greatest enemy of the Imperium is not always the Xenos invaders or the chaos forces that ravage its borders. Often, the most insidious threats come from within, from the very people who are supposed to defend it. It is the heretics who speak in whispers, the traitors who hide their true intentions, and the corruption that spreads through the ranks of the Imperium like a slow poison. The Adeptus Terra, the massive bureaucracy that runs the Imperium, is full of officials who often forget their oaths to the Emperor, distracted by personal ambition or greed. There are bureaucrats who line their pockets while the people they serve suffer. Governors who rule over their worlds with iron fists, ignoring the needs of their citizens. And the Imperial Guard, the millions of soldiers who fight to defend the Imperium, are often led by corrupt officers who think of their own power before the lives of their men. This is where the Inquisition comes in. Tasked with rooting out heresy, treason, and corruption, the Inquisition's agents, the Inquisitors, are the eyes and ears of the Emperor, watching for any signs of betrayal. They are the last line of defense against the enemy within, and their power is absolute. No one is beyond suspicion, not even the highest-ranking officers, not even the Emperor's own loyal servants. Yet, even the Inquisition is not immune to the darkness within. There are whispers of rogue Inquisitors who, in their zeal to protect the Imperium, have become as corrupt as the very enemies they hunt. Some have turned to forbidden knowledge, seeking to control the forces they were once meant to destroy. The desire for power can warp even the noblest of hearts, and when the Inquisition itself becomes tainted by corruption, who is left to root out the rot within? The Ecclesiarchy, the body responsible for spreading the Emperor's word, is no stranger to corruption either. The Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, are the militant arm of the Ecclesiarchy. They are the warriors who fight in the name of the Emperor, purging heretics and defending the faith. But even among them, there are those who fall prey to pride, ambition, or fear. The faithful who once stood as the shining light of the Imperium may themselves become the very enemies they once fought against. Beneath the surface of the Imperium's mighty fortress lies a world of decay. The very structure of the Imperium, built on a foundation of superstition and bureaucracy, is prone to internal collapse. The Emperor's servants are often so busy fighting external enemies that they fail to notice the forces of corruption eating away at their own ranks. And the more powerful the Imperium becomes, the more vulnerable it is to the enemy within. The enemy within is a subtle foe. It does not strike with the force of a great invasion fleet or a demonic horde. It moves in the shadows, infecting minds and hearts, turning brother against brother. It is a plague that spreads silently through the ranks, tearing apart the unity that holds the Imperium together. It thrives in secrecy, in whispers, and in the darkness of the human soul. The most dangerous aspect of the enemy within is its ability to deceive. Heresy often begins with small compromises. A single act of betrayal, a moment of doubt, a refusal to stand firm in the Emperor's name. These are the cracks through which corruption can spread. A governor who accepts bribes from alien traitors. A soldier who turns his back on his comrades in the heat of battle. A noble who sacrifices the lives of the innocent for his own gain. These are the seeds of heresy that can grow into rebellion, treason, and betrayal. The Imperial Guard is especially vulnerable to the enemy within. Soldiers from across the galaxy, from every race and culture within the Imperium, serve in its ranks. The commanders of these soldiers must ensure loyalty, discipline, and unwavering devotion to the Emperor. But even the strongest of soldiers can be broken. The harsh conditions of battle, the constant threat of death, and the psychological toll of war can lead men and women down a dark path. The enemy within is never far from their minds, waiting for the moment of weakness. And what of the Space Marines, the Emperor's most revered warriors? Even they are not immune. While their devotion to the Emperor is unquestioned, their loyalty to each other is often tested. The bonds between brothers in arms are strong, but even they can be strained. In the heat of battle, in the face of impossible odds, some may falter. The temptation of chaos, the whisper of rebellion, or even simple fear can turn even a Space Marine from his true purpose. The enemy within is the hardest to fight because it does not always wear the face of evil. It is the seed of doubt in a loyal servant's heart. It is the betrayal that begins with a single step. The danger of internal corruption lies not in its obviousness, but in how deeply it can grow before anyone notices. Only through constant vigilance, unwavering faith, and the ever-watchful eye of the Inquisition can the enemy within be kept at bay. The true test of the Imperium is not only its ability to fight the alien and the demon. It is in its ability to recognize and root out the traitor, the heretic, and the corrupt within its own ranks. And if it fails, if the enemy within is allowed to spread, then the Imperium will fall, not from without, but from within. The dark gods of the universe is a place of unimaginable darkness and chaos. While the Imperium of man fights to maintain its existence against a galaxy filled with Xenos and heretics, the most insidious and ever-present threat comes from beyond the stars, from the very fabric of reality itself. The dark gods are the malevolent forces that exist in the warp, embodiments of the most primal and destructive aspects of the universe. These chaos gods are not mere beings. They are the living manifestation of humanity's darkest emotions, fears, and desires. They feed on the suffering, the rage, and the despair of all sentient beings, and they will stop at nothing to bring about the destruction of the Imperium and all that it stands for. The four chaos gods are Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. Each of them represents a different aspect of human depravity, and each one has its own army of devoted followers. The forces of chaos are not bound by the laws of the material universe. They live in the warp, a dimension of pure psychic energy, where reality is fluid and ever-changing. They are the dark shadows that lurk in the minds of all beings, waiting to twist their thoughts and hearts. Khorne, the blood god. He is the embodiment of war, rage, and violence. Khorne feeds on the bloodshed of battle, the fury of warriors, and the hate-filled cries of those who fight for supremacy. His followers, the World Eaters, the Bloodletters, and countless other warbands seek nothing but destruction. They live for war, for carnage, and for the thrill of battle. Khorne's motto is simple: blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. He revels in the destruction of life, and his power grows stronger with every death, every war, and every battle fought in his name. Tzeentch, the changer of ways. He is the god of change, manipulation, and ambition. Tzeentch thrives on the schemes and deceptions that twist the fates of mortals. His followers are cunning, sly, and always plotting. They seek knowledge, power, and the ability to reshape reality itself. Tzeentch is the god of sorcery and transformation. His magic is limitless, able to warp the very fabric of time and space. Those who serve him, the Thousand Sons, Horrors, and Flamers, are often masters of sorcery and psychic manipulation. Tzeentch's power grows with every act of treachery, every broken promise, and every deceitful act. Nurgle, the plague god. Nurgle is the god of disease, decay, and death. Unlike Khorne's rage-fueled power, Nurgle's strength is found in the slow, inevitable process of corruption. Nurgle represents death, but not just death through battle. He is the god of pestilence, decay, and suffering. His followers embrace disease and decay as the natural cycle of existence. They see death not as an end, but as a part of the eternal cycle of life and decay. Nurgle's followers, including the Death Guard and Plaga Bearers, revel in the spread of disease and the inevitability of death. Nurgle's power grows through suffering, illness, and the slow rot of both body and soul. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince of Excess. Slaanesh embodies the pursuit of indulgence, pleasure, and excess. He is the god of lust, greed, pride, and self-indulgence. Slaanesh represents the endless search for sensation, the never-ending desire for more. His followers seek to experience all the pleasures of the flesh and mind, from the highest ecstasy to the darkest vices. Slaanesh's followers are known for their obsession with beauty, perfection, and the pursuit of ultimate pleasure. The Emperor's children, Demonites, and Keepers of Secrets are devoted to Slaanesh's cause, believing that only in excess can they truly experience the fullness of life. Together, these four gods make up the dark pantheon of chaos. They do not care for the survival of humanity, for order, or for peace. Their only desire is to spread suffering, corruption, and destruction. They seek to shatter the Imperium, to warp the minds of its citizens, and to turn all who follow the Emperor into servants of chaos. They whisper in the minds of the weak, tempting them to rebel against the Imperium, offering power, wealth, and pleasure in exchange for servitude. The Chaos Gods do not fight each other directly. They are bound by the laws of the warp, which makes their rivalry a matter of competition rather than outright war. Their followers wage war against each other in an eternal struggle for power and dominance, but the Chaos Gods themselves are patient. They are timeless, waiting for the right moment to strike. Every act of rebellion, every war, every act of betrayal strengthens their power. It is said that the warriors of chaos, including the Chaos Space Marines, the cultists, and the demon princes, are the champions of the Chaos Gods. They are the ones who carry out the will of their dark masters, spreading chaos and destruction wherever they go. But these warriors are not mindless. They are often twisted reflections of humanity's worst traits, driven by ambition, greed, and rage. The Chaos Gods offer them power in exchange for their loyalty, turning them into monstrous versions of their former selves. The demons of chaos are the purest form of their god's power. These creatures are born from the warp itself, manifestations of their god's will. They are terrifying, unnatural entities that can possess mortal bodies, warp reality, and carry out the darkest desires of the gods they serve. The forces of chaos are relentless. They never tire, never falter, and never stop. Their gods whisper in the hearts of men, feeding off their weaknesses, and their influence is growing. The Imperium, though mighty, is forever at war with these dark powers. The dark gods are the true enemies of humanity. They do not fight for territory or for honor. They fight for the soul of the galaxy, and they will not stop until it is theirs. The Imperium Sanctus is the beating heart of humanity's empire, a vast region in the galaxy that remains the closest to the Emperor's will, despite the darkness that surrounds it. It is home to some of the most sacred worlds in the Imperium, including Holy Terra itself, the Emperor's throne world, and the heart of the Imperium's faith and administration. This region, though beset by threats both known and unknown, remains the most stable part of the galaxy. The Imperium Sanctus serves as a beacon of hope in the galaxy's darkest hours, a reminder that, despite the endless war and chaos, humanity's faith and resolve endure. At the heart of the Imperium Sanctus lies Holy Terra, the most sacred world in the galaxy. Here, the Emperor's body is entombed within the Golden Throne, a life support device that sustains his broken form, while his psychic mind continues to protect humanity from the dark forces of the warp. Holy Terra is not just a capital world, but a spiritual center, a symbol of mankind's enduring faith in the Emperor. The Imperial Palace, an immense fortress that dominates the planet's surface, houses the High Lords of Terra, the rulers of the Imperium, who issue edicts and oversee the vast, sprawling empire. The Imperium Sanctus is the region of space closest to Terra, and it is under the greatest protection of humanity's war machine. Within this region lies the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon that guides Imperial ships through the perilous currents of the warp. The Astronomicon is powered by thousands of psychic astropaths, who sacrifice their minds daily to fuel this unyielding light. Their efforts are a small price to pay, as the light of the Astronomicon is the only way for ships to navigate the turbulent and treacherous warp safely. Despite the Imperium Sanctus being the strongest and most stable region within the Imperium, it is far from untouched by the darkness. The region is constantly besieged by the forces of chaos, as well as invasions from Xeno's empires, rebellions from within, and the ever-present threat of mutations that can crop up even within the most loyal populations. The Imperial Guard, the millions of soldiers who defend humanity's worlds, are always present in the Imperium Sanctus, ready to answer the call of the Emperor. Space Marine chapters, the Emperor's most powerful warriors, also defend the Sanctus, as they constantly patrol the stars for signs of chaos incursions and alien threats. These angels of death, with their gene-crafted might, are the ultimate line of defense against the forces of the warp, and their presence serves as a reminder of the Emperor's eternal vigilance. The Ecclesiarchy, the religious body responsible for maintaining the faith of the Imperium, has a particularly strong influence in the Imperium Sanctus. It is here that the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, are most active, performing their holy duties to spread the Emperor's creed and purge the heretics, mutants, and Xenos who seek to corrupt mankind's destiny. The Sisters of Battle are not just warriors, but the living embodiment of the Imperium's spiritual resolve. They fight for the Emperor's light and bring destruction to those who dare to defile his will. The Imperium Sanctus is home to the majority of the Imperium's forge worlds, the vast industrial planets under the control of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Adeptus Mechanicus is the organization responsible for maintaining the technological wonders of the Imperium, from the massive war machines that serve in the Imperial Guard to the intricate weaponry wielded by the Space Marines. The Forge Worlds are critical to the Imperium's continued survival, as they produce the weapons, vehicles, and equipment that humanity's armies use to wage war. The Mechanicus is not just a technological power, but a religious one as well, revering the Omnicia, whom they believe is the Emperor in his divine machine form. But the Imperium Sanctus is not without its weaknesses. While the region is blessed with a strong military presence and vast resources, its very proximity to the Emperor and the center of power also makes it a target. Chaos cults and rebellious factions often operate in the shadows, seeking to undermine the Imperium from within. These hidden threats must be hunted down by the Inquisition, whose agents search for signs of corruption, heresy, and sedition wherever they can be found. The Inquisition is particularly vigilant in the Imperium Sanctus, for if the heart of the Imperium were to fall, the entire galaxy would be plunged into eternal darkness. The Astra Militarum Imperial Guard is constantly on the front lines, fighting against the forces of chaos, alien invaders, and rebels. Crusades are often launched from this region, with massive fleets of Imperial ships crossing the stars to bring the Emperor's wrath to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. It is here, in the heart of the Imperium, that many of humanity's greatest victories are won, and where the cost of those victories is often felt most keenly. In the end, the Imperium Sanctus is a place of both hope and despair. It is humanity's greatest fortress, a shining beacon that fights back the tide of darkness, but it is also a region that is constantly under threat. The very soul of the Imperium resides here, and with it, the Emperor's will, but even the mightiest of fortresses can be breached, and no part of the galaxy is safe from the ever-encroaching dangers that lie beyond the stars. The Imperium Nihilus the galaxy is a vast and dark expanse, and for all of the Imperium's might, it is not invulnerable. The Imperium Nihilus is one such testament to the fragility of humanity's reign in the stars. This region, once a shining beacon of Imperial dominion, now lies in ruin shattered by the ever-expanding forces of chaos and the catastrophic rift that now divides the Imperium. The Great Rift, a massive tear in reality itself, has split the galaxy in two. The Imperium Sanctus, the heart of the Imperium, remains largely untouched for now, but the Imperium Nihilus is cut off from Terra and the guiding light of the Astronomicon. The warp storms are constant. They're howling, maddening forces corrupting everything they touch. It is a land of darkness, of isolation, and of despair. The Imperium Nihilus is a region of space beyond the Great Rift, where light and hope are fading. Here, humanity's once secured domains have been cut off from the Emperor's direct protection. Without the guiding light of the Astronomicon, navigation through the warp is impossible, leaving entire star systems in a constant state of isolation. The ships that attempt to navigate the void are forced to travel blindly, often lost to the treacherous storms, while their messages never reach the heart of the Imperium. The stars are swallowed by darkness. Within the Imperium Nihilus, entire worlds are abandoned, forgotten, and left to their own fates. Some worlds have fallen to the forces of chaos, corrupted by the warp and their desperate search for survival. The demons of the Chaos Gods run rampant, their corrupting influence poisoning the very fabric of space. The Chaos Space Marines have seized these worlds, claiming them as their own and establishing their twisted dominions. These worlds, once proud bastions of humanity, have become battlegrounds of madness. The Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, fights on in the Imperium Nihilus, but their efforts are often futile. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard face overwhelming odds. Not only are they fighting against the rampaging forces of chaos, but they are also beset by traitors, mutineers, and entire worlds that have turned against the Imperium. Without communication from Terra, and with little hope of reinforcements, they struggle to hold what little ground remains. The Inquisition is equally stretched thin in the Imperium Nihilus. There, the agents of the Emperors will must deal not only with heresy, but with the overwhelming presence of the dark gods themselves. The corruption of chaos spreads like wildfire, and every day the agents of the Inquisition are forced to make choices between saving the soul of humanity or preventing its annihilation. Many of these agents have become as ruthless as the enemies they hunt, using any means necessary to rid the galaxy of the taint of chaos, even if it means becoming just as dark as the forces they oppose. Perhaps the most tragic consequence of the Great Rift is the isolation of the Imperium Nihilus. The Great Forge Worlds and Space Marine chapters that once filled this region now find themselves separated from Terra, unable to receive supplies or reinforcements. Even the mighty Adeptus Mechanicus struggles to maintain its presence in this forsaken place. Technology, already a rare and precious resource, is becoming ever harder to acquire as the Rift continues to pull the region into darkness. In the face of such overwhelming odds, the soldiers of the Imperium Nihilus have learned to adapt. Guerrilla warfare has become the only means of survival. Militias are raised, and the common citizens of the Imperium become soldiers, fighting not for honor or glory, but simply to survive. The elite Space Marine chapters, though their numbers are fewer, and their power stretched thin, continue to fight on, launching crusades into the darkness of the Nihilus, striking at chaos and bringing the Emperor's wrath to the most tainted of worlds. However, the region's bleakness cannot be ignored. Rebellions, alien invasions, and the warped, maddened forces of the Warp have forced the Imperium to defend more than just territory. Entire sectors have fallen to oblivion, and the Nihilus is becoming a place where the light of humanity may finally be extinguished. While the Imperium Sanctus remains a place of relative safety, the Imperium Nihilus stands as a graveyard, a warning to all. The forces of chaos revel in the suffering of humanity, knowing that their corruption has claimed these once proud domains. In the Imperium Nihilus, there is no hope, there is no light. There is only the eternal battle for survival and the fight to hold onto the last remnants of humanity's soul. The future of the Imperium Nihilus is uncertain. The Great Rift continues to widen, and with every passing day, the region becomes more isolated, more forgotten, and more vulnerable to the forces of darkness. If the Chaos Gods have their way, the Imperium Nihilus will fall into eternal damnation, and it may never rise again.